Now, I would like to introduce Angelo Tony Riddick, New York State Chief Information Officer. Angelo Tony Riddick was named the Chief Information Security Officer for New York State in December 2020. And in that capacity, he leads the state's Office of Information Technology Services. Prior to arriving to New York, Tony served as the Chief Information Security Officer for the U.S. Virgin Islands. While in this role, Tony received the State Scoop State Employee of the Year Award, awarded for spearheading the efforts to stand up communications resources after the devastating Category 5 storms that ravaged the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Tony ran the help desk at the Pentagon and taught cybersecurity courses at the National Defense University. He also is a retired U.S. Army colonel with more than 30 years of active military service. Colonel Riddick has received numerous military awards, including the Army Legion of Merit, numerous Joint and Army Meritus, Commendation, and Achievement Medals. He was awarded the coveted Army Ranger Tab, Airborne Wings, and Combat Action Badge for combat service in Iraq. He holds an associate degree in business from Marion Military Institute, a Bachelor of Business Administration from Almighty State University, Georgia, as a Master of Quality Systems Management, and the National Graduate School of Falmouth, Massachusetts. Tony Riddick. Thank you.
Take that to seat for me. Yep.
There you go.
Take that. Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to the 24th annual New York State Cyber Conference, the premier cybersecurity event for New York State. And quite frankly, it's the premier cybersecurity conference for the United States and the world. This is the largest IT enterprise in America that's non-federated. I compliment you for supporting New York State and supporting the enterprise as vendors and as members of the esteemed Governor Hochul's cabinet. And with that, I would like to introduce and acknowledge the presence of Gabe Paley. He's the Assistant Secretary for Technology, appointed about 2 months ago. Welcome. And my dear friend, Roberta Riordan, the Commissioner for the Department of Labor. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming out this morning. As Chris said, I'm Tony Riddick. I'm a former Army officer, combat veteran, a real nice guy. It is an honor to lead the largest enterprise in the free world. I have an outstanding team of professionals that I can't go without acknowledging. So everybody in ITS, please stand up. These are some wonderful people. I haven't had an opportunity, with 3,400 being on the staff, haven't had an opportunity to meet each of you. So I challenge you at the end of this conference to make sure you come up and say hello. Say hello to the Assistant Secretary, acknowledge and say hello to the Commissioner of the Department of Labor, one of the most challenging jobs in the free world as well. Let me say it's great to be back. As Chris said, I arrived in December 2020. Now think about what December 2020 looks like to a man who came from the United States Virgin Islands. It was snowing, it was cold, and there was no one in the concourse. I was challenged because we've gone through a series of events in the last 30 years that we haven't seen since the history of this country. The fall of the Berlin Wall. I was blessed to be in Germany at that time as a company commander. For you New Yorkers, it's passionate to you, the tragedy of 9/11. And now we've gone through the pandemic and you've survived. So pat yourselves on the back for doing a great job and know that we expect you to continue doing a great job. Given those threats, I want to add to the multiplication table the threat of cyber in the world today. You know, it was about 40 years ago, actually about 30 years ago, when I was stationed in Tacoma, Washington, 1985. I met two gentlemen who worked for Boeing. And at Boeing, they had the job of the computer enterprise at the time. You know, we had Microsoft 3.0. We had, Lantastic, Novell. We weren't really networking computers at the time. And I remember meeting two gentlemen at a party who talked about creating viruses for each other's computer. And I just could not wrap my head around that threat. And look where we are today. Nearly 35 years later, the threat is exponential. And a lot of us like to think that nation states are our biggest threat. I submit to you, our biggest threat is that 15-year-old who's challenging their buddy to open the back door of a site and make it available to the entire world, and they bet 15 cents on it. So think about your job, how much they bet on, how much you're getting paid, and what the actual threat is. I received a phone call from USAA yesterday telling me that my credit card was hacked. Now, 35 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to believe that. But that in itself was an attempt for me to give up my information. So I went out immediately, purchased a commercial product to secure what I do. And what you do is exponentially larger and challenging than that. It was my credit card, probably worth about $300. But it's something that I had to do, and I want to thank you for doing the job that you do as well. I also want to lean forward and thank those individuals who make presentations today. I want you to listen, and learn. They're the smartest in the industry. They have a lot to offer. And for those of you who don't know, and I talked about what your job is, ITS has the largest responsibility of securing this enterprise in the free world again. That's why I wanted the team to stand up and be acknowledged for what you do and what you'll continue to do and what you'll do until I leave here. It's our job to make sure that we keep this enterprise secure. In this role as CIO, my team oversees more than 53 agencies. And we also help out local and city governments as well in securing the enterprise. It's an awesome responsibility and one we take very seriously, which is only doable thanks to the talented, committed, and supportive team of everybody in this room, everybody who's behind us. The commitment to protect New Yorkers from cyber threats starts with Governor Hochul. She's made the biggest investment in cybersecurity this state has ever seen. I compliment her. First, I acknowledge her for recognizing the threat and giving us the resources that we need to protect the industry. She has demonstrated in this budget that she takes cybersecurity seriously. It included significant funding to improve not only cybersecurity, but we also received federal dollars for this effort. She made a monumental effort in working with the budget, partners, and federal agencies and getting the resources that we need. Now, there'll never be enough, I can tell you now, because we can only be one town ahead of the posse. It's our responsibility to lean forward and always anticipate the threat. And I guarantee you, Governor Hochul's entire mission is to make sure that the New York State enterprise and the residents of New York are secure. Now, here recently, we partnered with New York City. We established the first of its kind Joint Security Operations Center. And I want to give credit to, where are you, Dave? Dave Bell, then the acting Chief Information Security Officer, and Mike Ajovlasitis, who assisted in that. Now, I want you to listen to that last name. I've been practicing that for about 3 months now, and hopefully, Mike, we got it right. Through Dave's leadership and Mike's encouragement and the CISO team, they've done an outstanding job of setting up the Joint Security Operation. It's based in New York City, actually Brooklyn, but one thing I learned about being in upstate New York, everything south is the city. I didn't know that. It's based at Metro Tech, and we will have people in that operation. As a matter of fact, I'm proud to announce that we actually have physical beings working in the JSOC now. Now, what we're going to do with that mission is we're going to expand it. Our job is to look forward, to reach out to local governments to make sure that they are secure. Now, we don't plan to do remediation and security as a JSOC, what we plan to do is gather data, analyze data, send that data off to the various security operations centers and entities and resources who can provide the remediation and support that we need. That's going to be a challenge. Again, I compliment Governor Hochul for her vision in helping us to establish this. As a matter of fact, I complimented her for her initiative to make this happen, not just vision. I'm also excited to announce the arrival of an old-time team member, Chris Desane, whom you saw this morning. Chris has now joined the team as the Chief Information Security Officer for the state. That'll give Mike and Dave a bit of support, but welcome, Chris. I expect nothing but the best. You know, there's an old saying about sports, that a great team is only as good as its parts. It's the same for cybersecurity. If we're going to be and do cybersecurity right, it's a shared responsibility between and among all the stakeholders. And consider yourself as a computer user in the state of New York or anywhere you travel, a stakeholder. There's a lot at risk. It starts with awareness. We're working directly with state agencies to make sure they understand our plan and how we plan to support them in the Joint Security Operations Center. Our award-winning CISO site, Chief Information Security Officer website, is a great place to start for those who you don't know what we're doing. I encourage you to take a look at it, and I compliment my team for a job well done. We're always sharing information about potential threats and keeping agency commissioners and other leaders in the loop about steps we're taking to mitigate those particular issues. In addition, we'll soon be offering endpoint technology capabilities to local governments. That is going to be the resource that we use to find out what's going on, even in local libraries. As far as Plattsburgh North, and as far as Long Island South, and as far as west as Buffalo, and everywhere in between. Mind you, I'm from Norfolk, Virginia. I came from the Virgin Islands, and I know where these three places are. It's important that we cover that territory. Again, it's important that we cover every resident of New York. The threat is constantly changing. There are a number of threats that are going on that enhance our responsibility to be more vigilant. Think about it. We have the war in Ukraine. We have the Russians, like my grandmother said, acting a fool right now. We have 15-year-old kids betting 15 cents that they can break in a website. These threats will never change. We continue to monitor the threat environment for this, as well as the new and emerging threats in the environment. I've often said that the best we can do, and you've heard me say it on numerous occasions, again, the best we can do is stay one town ahead of the posse. We never put ourselves in a comfortable area. We always have to remain vigilant and aware that that threat is ever evolving. And that is exactly what we need to do and what we will do, starting with the recruiting of the next generation of cyber leaders. I consider myself a mentor. Everywhere I go and I see a young man or a young lady, I ask them what they're going to do. You know, a long time ago, I used to encourage them to join the Coast Guard. I used to encourage them to join the Air Force if they don't have a plan. I encouraged them to join the civil service if they didn't have a plan. I never encouraged them to join the Army. Why? Because there's some death associated with the Army. Now, I say that to be emphatic about this threat that we face today. Not only is it a financial threat, not only is it a threat to the enterprise, it's a threat to our well-being. Again, I remind you, Russia is acting a fool. But that's what we do as cyber leaders. That's what we do as vendors who support New York State. That's what we do as citizens. We'll be nimble in New York, and we'll adapt to new strategies and new opportunities to do things better. In my staff meeting with my team, I always say, you did a great job. Let's do it better. At every staff meeting, North-South team, that's what I do. I let them know that I expect no more than excellence from them. And they always give it. They just got to give a little more. Now, let me thank the vendors for coming out today. We know that you have a lot of opportunities for us to get better as well. but I expect for you to come out with a better product and a better process to help the residents and the governor of New York and everything in between. That includes the enterprise, state and local governments, and all of the entities that we support as a cyber force. I consider you a part of the cyber force. I want to thank the University at Albany School of Business and the New York Forum for supporting us. It's kind of funny to say the University at Albany when I graduated from Albany State University. It's really, really difficult to do that. But I want to thank you for listening to me this morning. It's always difficult to open up a forum. And you can see I'm an extemporaneous guy, but I'm emphatic about doing the job well. I'm emphatic about my team doing the job well. I'm emphatic about those of you who support doing the job well. Again, remember, we expect in New York for you to do it better tomorrow. Welcome.